Welcome back. The Bad Pennies are back
Hey,
again.
what's up?
What's up? I'm Sho. This is my friend Alan, and we're going to talk about recovering from failure.
Yeah, we're going to talk about failure and getting back up, recovering from it.
Bouncing back.
Bouncing back. So I'm going to start out. Of course, we have the Dictionary for Men right here, and it's actually working today. It's up and running, and I needed it to be because there's a bunch of things here to talk about. But let's just start with my favorite definition of failure.
Okay.
And my favorite definition is of failure is the process through which most human learning takes place.
Yes. You
Okay.
learn lessons from the things that
Most
you do.
human lesson, most learning takes place through failure.
Mm.
And whenever we do have a failure of any kind, every time that happens, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, it's a lesson. Yeah.
It's an opportunity because the opportunity sets you up for a lesson to not fail the next time, and or take it the next level
Okay.
until you fail, and then take it to the next level and the next level. The trick is not quitting,
Okay.
and a lot of people quit when they fail. A lot of people get hurt.
Yeah, I can't do this.
Well, yeah, but that all comes out of hurt, right? That comes out of their ego gets bruised, or But what the bottom line of all of that is there's some kind of internal emotional pain, and they get hurt, and then they don't want to get hurt again. But failure, and we'll just talk specifically for men, is a very integral part of becoming successful. Never met a really successful man who didn't tell the story of all the failures that he encountered on the road to being successful. In fact, I even know men that became super successful, lost it all, built it back, lost it again. It's just so the real important technique or deal in all of this is your ability to get back up and get back in the game. That means you have to be able to deal with the hurt.
Okay.
You have to deal with the hurt and know how to deal with it, and where to take it, or how to get rid of it, how to let go of it. And because if you don't, it'll take you down. Hurt, pain pulls at the human spirit, pulls us down. It drags us down. And it's not, pain isn't a bad thing. It's not a good thing either. It's just, it is what it is. It's part of what happens in the process of becoming successful and experiencing the failures along the way.
Okay. Do you think that there's a difference between is there such thing as a small failure versus a big failure? And what I mean by that is something like, you may have attempted to, ask a girl out on a date and she shot you down. That's a small failure in my mind, compared to you started a business, you were running for a year, the business tanked, it failed, and now you can't make your mortgage payment. Like, those are two different kinds of failure to me.
Well,
but as far as like recovering from failure, that whole bounce back part of it, what do you have to say?
Well,
about
again,
that?
they're all related in almost the same way, because, like, say with the girl that rejects you, you can stop asking girls out.
Yeah, you would give up and be like,
Or
I'm
give
just
up,
going to
yeah,
be incel.
and sit home alone. So again, you haven't learned how to deal with the pain of the rejection. And even in business, there's rejection. You will develop a product or have some great new idea or whatever it is, and you'll go pitch it, and they'll say, that's really stupid.
Yeah.
And if you look at all of the great successes in our world, you will find in a lot of them, if not even most of them, that they were discounted, rejected, all kinds of things that it could have gone away. It could have just disappeared if whoever it was that had brought that gave up. All right. So what they learn to do, and what you need to learn to do, is deal with the pain of the rejection or the pain of the failure. And sure, we're not talking about right now. We're not talking about tragedy. We're only talking about things going wrong.
Yeah.
Right. To a degree that hopefully no one gets hurt too badly.
Yeah.
But sometimes that happens too. And you have to deal with that, and that is a process. Mm-hmm. It is definitely a process. But here's the first definition of failure. Okay, I gave you the last one because it's my favorite.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So the first definition of failure is falling short or a lack of success. Falling short. So that's like the little ones, right?
Okay.
A woman turning you down if you ask her out. Fell short, right? Second one is a state of cessation or inability to perform a normal function. In other words, you took a 3-pointer when you know that you're really terrible at 3-pointers, and it didn't go in, and that's you're not able to perform the function of getting that 3-pointer or whatever it is. It's like, but that doesn't mean you quit, because you may realize that you need to go practice 3-pointers.
So here's another one.
Right.
You were on the wagon, sobriety and all that stuff. You fell off the wagon.
Mm-hmm.
That's a failure.
Yes.
You got to recover. You got to get back up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can't. I mean,
well, again, you can choose to wallow in the failure and increase the. See, failures will come with a price.
Okay.
There's a consequence when you fail, and the price has to be paid.
Yeah,
it has to be paid, and a lot of people don't want to pay the price. They're okay with failure as long as they don't have to pay the price for failure. And the price for failure is dealing with how you failed, why you failed, what you could have done that you didn't do, or it's like putting together the whole package of the lesson of the failure.
Okay.
And including dealing with the pain, the emotional pain of failing, the hurt, right? And figuring out how to go through that whole process so that you can get back on your feet and get back in the game, right? We used to call it, you get knocked down in a fight, and so do you stay down or do you brush yourself off and get back up?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you keep getting back up until, you either get knocked down so hard that you physically can't get back up, at least until somebody carries you off the field. But
that was in a Rocky movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you just keep getting back in the fight.
Yeah.
And it is a way of disciplining ourselves to a degree when we fail. That's one discipline that a man really needs to develop, is his ability to get back in the game after failure.
Yeah.
And
failures happen.
Yes.
But it's about what did you learn and how do you get better so that you don't fail the same way again.
Right. And getting past or dealing with the hurt. So
you can't take it personal?
Oh, that's the worst mistake you can make, right?
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that you don't take personal responsibility. There's a difference. Ooh. Taking it personal is an emotional state, whereas that's part of the hurt.
Okay.
Whereas taking responsibility,
that's accountability.
Accountability.
Yeah.
And getting the lesson.
Right. And
that allows you to get back in. But I want to talk a little bit about the hurt again, because since you mentioned like asking someone out and getting rejected, there's a little pain.
Yeah.
And when we're young, there's probably more than a little pain. The process is to get to the point where it doesn't hurt. And that means you're going to have to, so you ask this girl and she rejects you. And then, okay, so you go and you ask this girl and she rejects you. And then you ask this girl and she rejects you. And then you ask this girl and she says, okay, well, let's go out. All right. All right, you go out and it's not great, but so you're back in the game again. So then you ask another girl and she rejects you, and another girl rejects you. Now, if you let any of those rejections and the pain from it take you down, you wouldn't have gotten to the girl that said yes.
Okay.
Right? And sometimes you may have to ask, 20 girls, 30 girls.
Yeah.
And the beauty of doing that is getting to the point where when they say no, it doesn't hurt.
They say something like that in sales.
Yes.
You have to take 10 no's to get to one yes.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Exactly. So in sales, if you're in sales and you let a rejection take you out, you'll never make another sale.
Right.
Right. So dealing with the pain to the point where you don't care whether they say yes or no. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt, and that allows you to get back into the game and go to the next one and the next one and the next one. Now, so that's just one technique.
Okay,
that's just one technique. So that, and it's a really important one, by the way. I mean, if you're going to stay on the path to becoming successful, you've got to be able to get past the failures.
Okay,
got to. So the next thing is the lesson. So you're going to have to take an account of why you failed. What happened?
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right. Now, there's a couple ways to do it. You can do it alone, or
a mentor.
You could get a mentor.
Ah.
So check out our mentor podcast. We just did a whole podcast on mentorship, or just having others in your life, especially men, who you can go to and work it out with them a little bit and get feedback. The problem with doing it, trying to get through all of it alone, is that the feedback you give yourself may or may not be 100% true. You might bullshit yourself. You might lie to yourself about it. You might say it wasn't that big a deal when it really was, right? Okay. You start to kind of smooth it out in your brain, and
your side of the story is a lot more
manipulated a little bit, so your part in it wasn't that big, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, or on the other side of that coin is that you're really the failure happened, and you're really frustrated, and
then you add more to it than it needs to be. Oh, you
suck. Add to that frustration.
You're so bad. You're so horrible. You really screwed that one up.
Oh my God! It's just like you can go into that whole pity party thing. But look, but even the frustration isn't that real. It isn't that real. So the having men in your life that and we're going to do another podcast on having men in your life.
Yeah.
But having men in your life means that you can vent that frustration. And if you need feedback after you've vented all that frustration, you can get clean feedback, right, from men that And when I say go to your men, I mean men that you care about, and the men that care about you and that you trust and they trust you.
Yeah.
And, and if you don't have men in your life like that, then get some.
So is that part of the recovery process, though? Like
yes, it is absolutely part of the recovery process, because, again, like I said, you do it alone, it's going to be, it's often a mess. Now, sometimes there's just no time. You just got to pick yourself up and get back in the game. In certain situations, you take a hit, and you go in the bathroom and scream your head off, and then you come out and I'm all better, and you get back in whatever you have to do to get past it, so that you can move on. And emotionally, men don't do well, so you gotta I know the women say, oh, don't stuff your feelings, and so we're going to get a little trouble for this, but I'm going to say stuff your feelings until it's time to bring them out, right? Till it's appropriate. Because if you're in the middle of a battle and you get all emotional, you're going to die. You're gonna fail. You're gonna have even a bigger failure than what's just happened. So better just not to deal with them. Put them aside. Move on. And then when you, as soon as possible, you can take the opportunity to get with someone, a man that you trust, and get all that emotional stuff out of you. So again, you because remember, just like the pain of failure, it pulls us down. It's like a weight, like chains and anchors on us, and it pulls us down. So you need to get it off. But in the middle of the battle, there's no time for that. You just can't deal with it. Okay. All right. So definition number 3. The fact of not doing something that you must do or are expected to do.
The definition of failure.
The fact of not doing something that you must do or are expected to do.
Okay.
All right. So that's
you didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
You failed.
And that's a fail.
Okay.
That's a fail. And so, so again, we're talking about the different tools and things that we can use, right?
Okay.
So that one is all about taking responsibility,
okay,
and ownership of what you didn't do, and being accountable to it.
Okay.
Okay. Telling the truth about it, being accountable, and then recommitting.
Yeah.
You have to recommit.
Yeah.
So look, our egos do not want to take responsibility for anything except success. Right?
But in order to get to the success, you have to acknowledge the failure.
You have to go through the failure. So and the problem is that the ego, which helps us drive us towards success, does not help us when we fail.
Yeah.
Because it does not want to take any responsibility. It doesn't want to be accountable. It doesn't want to look at the lessons. It just wants to be successful. It wants to be that special thing, that number one, king of the hill, top of the world, see Frank Sinatra. All right, so you think they'll get that reference?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so I hope you get the Frank Sinatra reference. So, you again, these are the other tools that you have to use to get through this. Don't get emotional about it. Just be accountable to it. All right, and then you can get the lesson. You can look at yourself and say, look, this is something I always do. Why do you always do it? What is it that continually drives you to make the same failures? Because look, if you're making a same failure over and over again,
it's your fault.
You got to stop and look at how you're living your life. Really, you got to stop and just take a hard look at how you're living your life.
Yeah.
Because as we go through life, we shouldn't be making as many failures as we used to.
Right.
And more importantly, we shouldn't be making the same ones, the same mistakes, the same shit. Because clearly you're not living your life in a way that's moving you forward, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you all want to move forward, right? You want your life to go forward.
Yeah.
You want to be more successful. You want to get more from your marriage and from your kids and your life and whatever it is that you're doing to serve your purpose.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. You always want to be moving forward until you take your last breath.
Yes.
Right? Because that's the only point where you're not going to move forward anymore, is that last breath. So, and the truth is, you can always be moving forward.
Yes.
Always, no matter what happens.
Now, there's one thing I want to interject. In failure, I've seen it happen a few times with some of the men that I know, where accountability just doesn't seem to fall on them. Like it's someone else's fault. I did it the way I was supposed to do it, and it didn't work out because such and such did this and did that.
Yeah,
like, how many times are you going to blame somebody else before you realize that it's your fault, right? how are you going to get any better if you don't take accountability for what you did in the situation?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And to me, like, I'm getting a little personal here because I talked to a friend of mine on the phone yesterday, and it was a thing where it's like, if you do it the way that they told you to do it, you're going to fail, and then you're going to blame them.
Right.
You know the right thing to do. Go do the right thing.
Yeah.
Go do what it takes, and stop giving me the story of how someone else screwed you over.
Right. All right. So there's two things about that. One is that when you do it that particular way, what you're actually doing is giving up your power to someone else. So I have, and the second thing is a rule. All right, you ready for this? You all ready for this? This is a pretty hard ass rule, and it's going to be a little difficult to take in initially.
What is it?
Take responsibility for everything, regardless of whether you think you're responsible or not.
Ooh.
And that way you got your bases covered, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to say
everything
again,
is your fault.
Everything. Take No, I don't mean your faults. I mean, just take responsibility.
Yeah. What could you have done?
What's my part in this?
What is your part in this?
What could I have done better?
You have to be the one who's responsible for your own success.
Look, there have been leaders over the course of history who have taken responsibility for all of the pain of the world, all of the wrongs in the world, even though that they had nothing to do with it. But yet there they were, taking responsibility for everything. So that's the rule. Take responsibility for everything. Now, it doesn't mean that I want you to, turn into Gandhi or whatever. But there is an element of humility and accountability that you were just talking about, being accountable. So but being responsible and accountable are different. Maybe we should pull these up because they're related. Accountable and accountability. All right, accountable is required or expected to justify actions or decisions. Responsible is definition number 2. Definition number 3 is the ability to explain a mistake or poor performance.
The ability, yeah.
The ability, your ability to take responsibility again by explaining, what happened. And the fourth one is disclosure in a transparent manner.
Okay.
Disclosure and accountable. Disclosure in a transparent manner. Okay. Accountability is although I put this in the dictionary, I really hate definitions that use the word itself and the definition.
Yeah.
But accountability is the condition of being accountable. Definition number 2, here's the hard one, right?
Go.
Taking full ownership.
Taking full ownership.
Full ownership.
Yeah. That's the one that sticks to me. When you're accountable for something, you have to own it.
Yes.
You have to say, this is my doing, this is my fault, this is my responsibility, this is my everything.
And the third one is accepting full responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Accepting full responsibility. And I don't know, do we actually really need to go to, you know what responsibility means. So
we're good.
This in that place of humility where you are accountable and responsible, you can then get the lesson
and learn the lesson so that you can move forward and move further.
Because like I said, there's a price or a consequence whenever we fail.
Right.
Small, large, whatever, doesn't matter. There's going to be a price, right?
Yeah.
Not only be willing to pay the price, but accept the consequence. Accepting the consequence is a measure of your character. And by accepting the consequence, you must make sure that the consequence produces a lesson, some kind of lesson, right? Because without the lesson,
You're doomed to fail.
Well, haven't you ever gotten away with something?
Probably, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you've done something and you got away with it?
Yeah.
Did you really?
So far.
Seriously? What's the price?
I don't know.
When you
What's
get
the
away-
price?
So think about it. Think about when you've done something and you've gotten away with it. I know men that try to get away with everything, stuff all the time, and their life is a mess. It's just a mess. So the price for just getting away with stuff is huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
You never learn.
Right, and again, that those voices that tell you that that justify everything, or give up your power by blaming someone else because it's their fault, not yours. All of that kind of stuff. I mean, it prevents you from being able to get the lesson to move forward. Right. Otherwise, you just got away with something. And what's the point of paying a consequence if you're not going to get the lesson?
Yes. There is no point.
There is no point.
Right.
There is no point.
Okay.
All right. So it's crazy, but we do it all the time.
There you go. So your failure takes recovery.
Get back in the game.
Get back in the game. Bounce back. Learn the lesson.
Get past the emotions.
Be honest with yourself.
Take responsibility.
Accountability.
Be accountable.
Okay.
Be humble.
Right. And move forward.
All
right. Bad pennies.
And take it and listen. Listen to the men that you trust. That's a big one right there too.
Okay.
Okay.
Bad pennies. We'll be back.
We'll see you.